Ahsoka season 1 finale is in the history books, folks. Episode 8 aired yesterday. I'm being joined by Mike from Laughingstock Media and Cinema. And over on Laughingstock Cinema now, there should be, and if not, it'll be up shortly, a review of the entire Ahsoka season. And I'm going to have my review on it coming up in a couple of days as well here on World of Geekdom. The whole season, but I want to talk about specifically episode 8 today, the finale of this first season, which now we kind of know it's going to have another season. It feels like that's where they're going, or the story will continue in Mandalorian season 4, or maybe the Dave Filoni movie. But some interesting and unexpected surprises. I think there were some things about this episode that were a bit disappointing, only because I wanted to see them get paid off. We got very little Balin. Well, wait. Before I go any further, spoilers if you haven't seen it yet, but we got very little Balin and Shin, but they're obviously saving a story for them for the future, which I had a feeling they were going to do. So if those were your characters, there wasn't much here for them at all. And we didn't see like Luke or anybody else who was rumored. We didn't really see a big war yet, but this was definitely an episode that was setting up the big war. And I feel like the big war is going to either start in a future Filoni Disney Plus project or in the movie, but I feel like the movie's probably going to be the finale of this whole conflict. It really feels like that. But there were a lot of really cool things in this episode they introduced, and we got to see for the first time in a really long time since the prequel era, 3 Jedi slicing and dicing through stormtroopers, and that was freaking awesome. And so we got an action-packed finale. If you wanted action, this definitely had that. So, Mike, how did you feel about the finale? Did you appreciate the action? What did you think about the finale overall?
Yeah, so overall, I still did really enjoy the episode. There was a lot of good aspects to it. Like you mentioned, the action. The fight between Ahsoka and Morgan Elsbeth was really good. Maybe the best fight scene. The only other fight scene I'd say maybe compares to it, I guess you could say, is Anakin versus Ahsoka. But then the original fight between Balin and Ahsoka I thought was really good with them changing all their stances and stuff.
I love that.
There was a lot better cinematography here, for example, with regard to, them actually having longer drawn-out shots of Ahsoka fighting against Morgan. It wasn't just quick cut every 2 milliseconds like a lot of other shows or movies. And, with regard to that, and her getting like that cursed sword, it felt like I was watching Soul Calibur, like in live action all of a sudden, like her fighting with the Soul Edge and Ahsoka trying to fight her back. I mean, we even had Star Wars characters in Soul Calibur, so it's not a far cry, you know?
I like how they had the stormtroopers surrounding them on the tower. That was a cool visual.
Yeah, the only thing I would say about the stormtroopers, I thought it was cool that they had like the zombie aspect going on where they're resurrecting them. The only thing is like
necromancer.
Yeah. The only thing is kind of like, why didn't anyone try and do a decapitation at any point, with their lightsabers? Or I guess that like they would still somehow be able to come back, but like at the same time, it's like they were just like stabbing them and like slashing them. It's like, why not chop all their heads off? Are they going to come back from that? At least play around with it. But either way, it served the purpose of what they were doing. The whole objective for Thrawn was to delay Ahsoka and her team as long as humanly possible, or as long as Corellian possible, or whatever his species is called, and then take off and go back to the main galaxy. And he accomplished his plan. He won this battle in the end. But will he win the Star War?
Right.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to that too. I was hoping we'd actually see them land on Dathomir in this episode, but the fact that they're going there and the Night Sisters are so involved, and we found out about resurrection, it seems like all the pieces are kind of coming together. I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but it would be cool if maybe it's leading to Darth Maul coming back and they're actually going to resurrect him, and that's what the whole Dathomir thing is setting up.
Well, I mean, it was revealed that George Lucas wanted to do something like that for the sequel trilogy. If they do resurrect Darth Maul somehow, it could be sort of like Filoni. It won't be the same story that Lucas wanted, but it could be like him sort of paying homage to what his master, his leader, George Lucas, the creator of Star Wars, wanted. So maybe they can incorporate some of George's ideas into this. I don't want to call it sequel trilogy, but it is a sequel to Star Wars, because Star Wars Forever, and some fans are not going to like what I'm about to say, but this is the truth. Star Wars will always be the original 3 movies and maybe the prequels in some ways because it was still George Lucas. But to me, it's that original trilogy that will always be remembered as Star Wars, what we all grew up with. The sequel trilogy, once again, when I'm watching this, Mike, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so much better. Like, why couldn't this have been the sequel trilogy? They introduced aspects of the Force in the sequel trilogy that I felt were unearned, that I felt were they were decent ideas in theory, but they weren't executed properly. But here with this, what they introduced, which was already sort of teased in Clone Wars and Rebels, the great mothers, you know, that sort of sinister witch side of the dark side, because we know that the Emperor is actually a sorcerer and he knows how to use the dark side to manipulate the midichlorians and all that. You know, that's the stuff that I was hoping they'd really dig into. And
the dark fantasy elements.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's it. The dark fantasy elements. You kind of nailed it with that. The big disappointment, I think, for the episode was the lack of Balin. He was the most interesting. He's the best character, I think, of all these new ones, and I wanted to see where his character goes. And the reason why I was disappointed, and I'm going to be very honest about this, it's a little bit of a nuanced opinion. It's not actually Filoni's fault. If Rey had not died, I feel like this ending would have been a little bit more satisfying. Let me explain what I mean by that. Obviously, there's more with that character, and they're obviously probably going to do more in Ahsoka Season 2 or Mando Season 4 or whatever, but they're going to have to either recast or kill him off on screen, and either way it sucks because, okay, if they recast, they might be able to, but it's one of those things where as a fan, it just brings back the Carrie Fisher thing from episode 9. Like, it just sucks that you have this story where a character does not die, but the actor dies, and you're so interested to see where they go with that character. You know, I obviously had a stronger attachment to Leia than I did Balin, but it doesn't matter. It was one of those things where, because the original actor might never play him again, it sort of takes away from the excitement of seeing him come back. And maybe it's just me. Maybe when he does come back, it'll be different. But it was a letdown because I wanted to see more. But that's not Dave Filoni's fault. When they first made this show, they didn't know he was going to die. I'm not going to blame him for that. But you understand where I'm coming from. It's just more like a circumstantial sadness.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, Balin is my favorite character in the show, and you know, out of all the newer characters at the very least. And then, you know, we see this whole interesting story building up, and then this episode, it ended like Lord of the Rings, or it ended like The Hobbit, where he's on this journey. He's like near these giant statues of the Mortis children, the Mortis gods as they call them, and the father, the daughter, who isn't there because I'm pretty sure that the daughter is actually the owl. And I was talking about that in our earlier videos because, Ahsoka had that like owl that was with her in the world between worlds. And then when she was rescued and you see it flying with her.
I saw it in this episode. Was the same bird, right?
I think that's actually the daughter, the child of Mortis that was killed, and that's like her incarnation in the universe. And basically, the thing that I think that Balin is leading to is either going to be one of two different things. Number one, I think more likely is going to be the sun. I think that the big thing that's leading to
he's going to be the sun.
No, that Balin's going to find the sun, and somehow the sun is going to use some kind of dark side ability, like a holocron or something, to keep himself like alive in some way in this other galaxy on this planet where that beacon is that he's going toward, and then in turn going to lead to him either unleashing him, or it's going to be possibly, if he's going really into the EU and stuff, it's going to be, I think Abeloth is the name. It's like an evil dark side. Yeah, so that's why I think it's setting up. And so it sucks because, like, he's on screen for a minute maybe in this episode. A minute! And then we have Shin, who's on screen for about the same time. Both of them are, like, awesome characters I wanted to see, like, at least 10 minutes of this final episode focusing on. I was hoping we'd get to that. But the fact that he's looking at a far-off thing, the fact that so much stuff is happening that's set up, I can't imagine them completing it all in, like, a movie. It has to be a whole other season. And
it has to be. I feel like, based on what you're saying, and based on the episode, that the last 5 minutes, let's just say, was all setting
Yeah.
up season 2 because we have several unresolved plot threads. We have first of all, Balin, Shin, Ahsoka, and Sabine are all on that same planet, just in different parts. So they're going to be, I feel like season 2 will focus on them and their conflict. They're going to meet again. Maybe Ahsoka will fight Balin again, or maybe Ahsoka and Sabine will fight Shin and Balin again, 2-on-2. But this time, Sabine's gotten a lot better with the Force. She can now use the Force to push and pull. She's gotten better. So it'll be a better
I do
fight.
feel like she leveled up a little bit too quickly, maybe, though, because she went from like struggling to grab a lightsaber, like force pushing Ezra in midair and having him like do a double jump like Mario in Super Smash Brothers or something.
Yeah. It felt like
but I
that.
do like that Ezra did reconnect with Hera, even though they didn't really show how he did it. But the whole fact that he wore a stormtrooper getup is also something that was directly pulled from Rebels, because it felt like in every episode they would do that. So it's kind of like, oh, this seems exactly like something Ezra would do. And he did grow on me a lot more in this episode, because the past few I was kind of like, I don't know about the portrayal, but like in this episode, he's not on the level of like Ahsoka the White or anything like that, but he still is showing off that he's powerful, and he built his own lightsaber with Caleb's hilt, which I thought was pretty cool.
And actually, that is the other plot thread. You know, I mentioned we've got the Ahsoka Sabine versus Balin and Shin storyline, the Mortis. She's with the bandits, and Ahsoka's with the E-Rock people. We've got Thrawn on Dathomir. Maybe they're gonna plot something evil. Ooh, and you know, he's gonna be the one to bring everybody back. The Dark Council will all be reunited. We have that going on. Also, Mando season 4 told us that, you know, Din Djarin's gonna be out there helping out the New Republic. There's that. Obviously, we could see a continuation of what Luke's doing. Maybe not. That's not that important for this show. But for this show, you mentioned it, man. Hera and Ezra. Ezra's alive. So now Ezra can straight up go talk to the New Republic and say, listen, Thrawn's alive. He's on Dathomir. And that's going to be another plot thread, because the whole season was like the New Republic was ignoring Hera's warnings, which anytime that happens in any of these movies, it's like boneheaded because they end up paying for it. And so
I saw people actually complaining about... Yeah, and I saw people actually being like, oh, well, Hera deserves to be court censored, and she deserves to be like lose her position because she's disobeying orders. It's like, do you not follow the story? It's obvious that she's disobeying stupid orders from people who don't know what the hell they're talking about. And Hera obviously does, because she's one of the main characters and she knows Thrawn. It's like, you know, sometimes people like just look for things to complain about. But yeah, like,
have you noticed what the fans have been talking about when it comes to Hera?
Yeah, I've definitely noticed watching the episodes. That's for sure. I know that Ewan McGregor chose well. I'll say that.
Let's just say that. Let's just say that she's
got some great assets on her.
There you go. There you go. It was very interesting seeing some of the stuff on the internet this week about that, and I was like, yeah, that I never noticed it, but now I'm gonna look out for it. But she's a good actress, and
I love watching her for the plot.
Yeah. No, she really is good. But no, still, like, there is that going on, and we're building up to a big war between the Imperial Remnant and the New Republic, which I do think the finale of the war has to be in a movie, has to be built up like a pay-per-view, where you've got the Ahsoka and the Mandalorian storylines all continuing in Disney Plus until they eventually converge in the Dave Filoni movie, which to me is going to probably replace the sequel trilogy in a lot of fans' eyes as the true sequel to Star Wars, although it's not really going to replace it, because the sequel trilogy is still canon, no matter how much people hate it, and I don't like it either, no matter how much YouTubers with fake information tell you it's going to be decanonized, it's not, clearly. And it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. However, once again, and we talked about this, you and I, before, with the things that are being teased, it feels like whatever Balin and Shin are doing with that Mortis, well, mostly Balin, with the sons of Mortis and all that, the gods of Mortis, that feels bigger than an interquel movie. We talked about it, you and I. That feels like episode 10 being pre-planned. Like the Yuzhang Vong and all these other things that they could bring in. They're a lot more open about borrowing from the EU. And what's funny is I've seen people complain like, well, why did they erase the EU if they take stuff from it? That's exactly why, because they can tell their own story and borrow from it. It's no different than what Toriyama did with Dragon Ball Super Broly. He did those movies aren't part of his continuity, but he took a character and rewrote it and made it better. That's literally what Filoni's doing. Same thing. He's taking the idea.
It's basically the MCU, you know, like the MCU will take ideas from the comics.
Oh, it's an adaptation.
Yeah, but it's not part of the same continuity. It's like a separate universe. So if you really want to, you could just say that everything Disney is doing is a separate continuity from George Lucas, and then kind of judge it based upon that. Because like it's never gonna be the EU. It's never gonna be 1-to-1. It's never going to be like necessarily reaching some of those heights, but you know, like if you look at it kind of like you would look at like the Snyderverse or something as like a Elseworld story about these characters that aren't like the traditional iconic ones for the most part, but we're still getting like ideas pulled from them.
What you're saying is that the Snyder Superman does not erase the validity of the Christopher Reeve Superman.
Yeah.
They both can, especially with the Flash, where we literally see both existing in one movie. So
yeah.
The
I did want to ask though, real quick, before we get into that, since they're basically going to pull in Avengers, do you think we're going to get like a sweeping circle shot of Luke, Ezra, Ahsoka, the Mandalorian, like all in a circle, like fighting Grogu, you know, stuff like that when they're fighting against Thrawn and like
a lot
the
of
other people
would like that. I think a lot of people would like that though. I think,
and they play the Force theme, dun 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 dun. It's everyone's like spiraling around. That would be pretty cool.
The camera, that's the iconic moment of Avengers. But think about this though. The biggest problem I feel, based on reading things and watching things, is that the way that Luke was written in Last Jedi. But if they, even if Luke is not the focal point of the Filoni movie, if Luke appears and does something heroic, blow up a couple ships, kill an enemy Sith, whatever he does, right? Doesn't matter. That, to me, would go a long way for Kathy Kennedy Star Wars to tell the fans, look, we messed up. Here is the Luke that you wanted. And some fans are never going to forgive, which I understand. But at the very least, if they write Luke to be a hero in this interquel story, at least the fans... And I've seen people comment and say, well, it doesn't matter because he's still ruined anyways, which is true. But it is showing that they at least recognize, without saying it, that they recognize they fucked up with Luke and they recognize they can try to make it better. So,
how do you think that they're actually? Oh, I'll.
Well, I was just asking you, how did you feel about Thrawn in this episode and the upgrade of Morgan, bro? What a sad day. She becomes an official great mother and then she gets killed.
It was kind of weird because, you know, they brought back stormtroopers, so I thought that they were going to, like, resurrect her when she died, too, but I guess for some reason they just let her die.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, I mean, she got a cool power-up that let her fight really well against Ahsoka and even destroy one of her lightsabers in the process. So, like, she definitely, like, did work, you know. She had a cool fight scene with Ahsoka in Mandalorian Season 2 as well. This one was way better.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was interesting. I kind of hope that maybe they go a little bit more in depth into that other sword, because Ahsoka now has that sword, I think. The like cursed dark magic sword that
the sword of Talzin.
Yeah,
that's
so
the one that the mother used against Mace Windu.
Oh, okay. I didn't remember that, but yeah, that's
Talzin. Yeah.
That's cool. So we have like the dark saber. We have that one. Yeah, literally. We have Luke's lightsaber, Kanan's lightsaber.
Weapons that the enemies can use to protect themselves from Jedi, basically.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of have to. The thing is, like, they've opened the door for so many things now, like time travel at some point, resurrections, you know. So I feel like they're kind of pulling the multiverse in a sense, like the concept, to where they're giving themselves so many outs of some of the things that have happened in the sequel trilogy that they can not undo it, but like improve it to where it's like, okay, this happened, but in episode 10 and onward, we could still bring these characters back. We could do this, we could do that, and kind of like
That's
fix
true.
the things. And plus, we see Anakin hanging around. It seems like he's basically the father now, the head
Well,
of
I
the
was gonna
Force and
ask you about
balance.
that
And
because they showed him as a Force ghost in the very last shot of this episode. What'd you think about
yeah,
that?
and it seemed like Sabine had maybe slightly sensed him when he was there. I got the impression that Ahsoka was watching him the whole time, and that's why she was like standing there, and maybe like Anakin was talking to her, because it's kind of like at least one of them probably can tell he's there with their Force abilities, but why is he actually there, and what's the purpose? I guess that they're saving for the next season. It's like everything is setting up the next thing that happens, which is part of the reason I kind of feel like this doesn't feel as strong of an ending as like Mandalorian season 2, because
Yeah.
that one was like conclusive. We didn't need anything else with the Mandalorian as far as I'm concerned after that last episode, aside from him showing up as like a cameo or like playing a part in a bigger story, and then they like undo basically everything in Book of Boba Fett.
Boba Fett.
But one of the things I did notice too, I was expecting them to have a post-credit scene, and they
Me
didn't.
too. Me too.
Yeah, because in Mandalorian season 2, they set up Book of Boba Fett,
And Book of
but with
Boba
this
Fett had
one,
one too.
yeah, but this one they just didn't even have one, which is weird. So I'm not quite sure why that's the case, but I
Maybe
don't
they
know. I
don't want
guess
to give
we'll
anything
find out.
away. I
What
don't
if
know.
what if next week they're like, oh yeah, by the way, we actually made 9 episodes, and here's the real finale.
That'd be cool. I've always thought of somebody doing something like that. Maybe not Star Wars. Maybe you could do that with your books, bro. You could have if you actually blow up, tell everybody this is the final book, and then at the end say, no, there's one more book coming in the last page.
There's some
Let's hope nobody goes through the book till the very end. Oh no, wait, that would suck.
I think he's already looking at my hard drives and stuff, because there's certain things popping up in the show that I was thinking of in my own books. I'm like,
Oh, the ego. But the thing is, no, that is I was thinking that too. But the more I was thinking about it, like what you said about how it felt inconclusive, the more it was like,
Yeah.
okay, Dave Filoni does this. He builds things up to pay off later. The Morgan versus Ahsoka feud started in season 2 of Mandalorian and got blown off here. She's dead. So there's gonna have to be a resolution to all of this at some point, and there will be. So I do trust him. Like like I've said this before, I trust Dave Filoni to do a good job because he has done a good job before, and I trust him to do right with these characters. A lot of them are
Yeah.
ones that he developed on his own or directly with George, especially Ahsoka Tano herself. Obviously, Anakin, he had him and George together, developed him during the Clone Wars. I feel like more calm that it's him. If all of a sudden tomorrow Disney announced that, hey, guess what? Season 2 of Ahsoka's gonna be run by Rian Johnson. I'm gonna freaking hang
God.
myself, bro. Like I'm gonna be like, oh my god. But if it's Filoni,
Yeah,
which it will be Filoni, I'm perfectly fine with it.
Yeah, I
trust
think
him.
I think out of the people that are there right now, Filoni is definitely the best. The thing is, like,
He
I
should
have,
be the Feige, I think.
yeah, I have read a lot of people in the comments who don't like Dave Filoni, because I guess that they were saying that
He's woke.
he was like, no, I think that they were saying more it's like an issue of him contradicting the EU when he was doing the Clone Wars and stuff. But it like that opens up a whole can of worms. Like, were the Clone Wars inhabiting the same timeline as the EU, the expanded universe, or were they separate canons and stuff? Because there's a lot of things that seemed like they changed or were added. Like, there was never an apprentice for Anakin in the original continuity, as far as we knew, and stuff like that.
Correct me
So
if I'm wrong, but wasn't Starkiller, didn't The Force Unleashed 1 come out before Clone Wars? I could be wrong on that. Because that was the
possible.
first time I remember Vader having an apprentice. Maybe it was Vader.
Was Mara Jade? I'm trying to remember. Was Mara Jade Vader's apprentice or Palpatine's? I feel like she worked directly.
Mara Jade was Luke's wife in the EU.
Yeah.
After
When she was
Jedi.
introduced, she was like a villain at first, and I think that she either served Palpatine or Vader at one point. So I don't know if it's the same thing, but
Yeah, I don't remember.
But
that.
yeah.
I just know that she married Luke in the EU, which they could still use her. They could legitimately still recreate that character, like bring her back. She's popular, but I mean,
I wonder who played her, Bryce Dallas Howard, and then she would direct all the episodes.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe Alexandra Daddario, your favorite, bro. That'd
I
be
mean, if I was directing it, she'd be every
Monica
female
Bellucci,
role.
bro. Monica Bellucci. Then all of a
Yeah,
sudden we don't feel so.
Jennifer Connelly.
Bro, if Monica Bellucci played Mara Jade and they hook her and Luke up, all of a sudden I don't feel so bad when Luke died. All of a sudden I feel a little bit better about it. He had a good life. Let's
Yeah.
just put it that way. But
Yep.
no, all joking aside, man, if it wasn't Filoni, I would be like, ugh. But there's definitely going to be a second season or more coming. This was
Yeah.
all done to build up more. It's sort of like what Mandalorian season 2 did. We reintroduced Boba. We brought Luke back. That was all done to build up more for later. So they've become really good at doing this. I think Marvel has actually messed up. But later this week, Loki is starting up. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But
I hope it's good.
any last words, man, before we close out of here about episode 8 or where you think they're going with the Filoni verse?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you said, it seems like everything is being set up with these interconnected shows, and they're following the Marvel formula, and so as a result, they're trying to have everything intersect at one point, and so we're going to get like a big blow off in a sense of that, where I assume that Thrawn. Yeah, I assume that Thrawn and the other villains that are being slowly introduced will all play a big role in this, or at the very least will be setting up things to come in the future, because I doubt that they're just building to a thing that's going to take place before the sequels and then will be blown off and have no point anymore after that. You know, like, I doubt that they're just going to be like, okay, this is it, it's over, the sequels come next, the end. You know, they're always looking for new ways to like create something afterward. So I think they're just going to simultaneously build up this event and also set up the big event to come afterward, where I don't know, Rey versus the brother, and this time she actually when she kisses him, he doesn't die immediately.
Oh God. Well, that's the other thing too. They have to not only explain, well, first of all, Anakin's ghost. Every time I see Anakin's ghost, the first thing I think of is, why didn't you tell Kylo Ren that Palpatine was alive? Like, I always, that still fucks with me, because if Anakin's ghost can go to another galaxy to see how Ahsoka's doing, he can go to freaking Exegol. Like, that whole thing is just, that's one of the dumbest things they've ever done is have Palpatine pretend to, like, oh, I hate, that's Palpatine coming back was the worst idea they had. But
maybe at the end of whatever big event they're building up, Anakin will look in the camera and say, okay, I'm going to time travel to 20 years in the future. Hopefully nothing bad happens during that time. And that's why he wasn't there.
He wakes up like the alternate ending of Army of Darkness. I overslept.
Yeah.
No. No, but and they also have to explain why Ahsoka, Sabine, and Ezra were not involved in the sequel trilogy. Now, they may have actually been there fighting and things like that, and we never saw it. But I think they're going to have to eventually get into that timeline where they explain either where they're at or show them, oh, I just got a call from General Leia. I don't know. Hosnian Prime's been destroyed. You know, do what they did in season 7 of Clone Wars, where while Force Awakens is going on over here, something's going on over here, and they're kind of interconnecting. They could do that. I don't think fans want that. I think fans want the sequel trilogy to just be ignored or erased. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to doomcock you. It's not getting retconned, y'all. It's just not. Like, this guy's been saying, and this guy's never been right about anything. Like, he's never gotten anything right except for info that he stole from Reddit and from 4chan. He's never gotten anything he said right. It's not happening. He said this like 4 years ago. Forget it. Like, forget it. I'm sorry. I wish it would. I hate the sequel trilogy as much as anybody does. It's not. So the best thing they can do is either ignore it, try to make it better, or set something up for after, so that maybe when we do get the Rey movie or whatever, which is supposed to be I think they're starting. Aren't they starting to shoot that next year now? I think now that the strike is
Hope
over.
not.
No, I think they're shooting it next year, yo. Whatever this Rey movie's gonna be, maybe it'll be good. I'm skeptical because I don't know. The director's kind of a, hate to use the word, but kind of a woke activist, and I don't know, that's usually a bad sign. But I don't like to crap on things, unlike a lot of YouTube. I don't crap on things before they come out. Other than Disney live action movies, because those are live action remakes are all garbage. Fuck that. But no.
Yeah.
I wish they would ignore the sequel trilogy. Some things they just can't fix, but maybe they can at least give us something entertaining that's not related to it. And that's what these shows have been, I think. But I do think the sequel trilogy did do unfixable damage to the Star Wars brand. I really feel that way, Mike. I just think that the way that they did those movies, they hurt. I'm not saying Star Wars is dead, but they really hurt it. Like they did a lot of damage to that brand.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely hard to come back from
It is.
what they did, in terms of that. The biggest way I could see it happening is if they pull multiverse in Star Wars
Well,
and they're like
that's
that
what
was a
Doomcock
separate
said.
timeline. But yeah, like I just
It's bullshit.
I don't know. Like I just it's gonna be hard. The only way I could see them fixing it is rebuilding things afterward, but like they're trying to rebuild it with Rey as like the main character again. And most fans don't like Rey as the main character.
Well,
So
I
it's
don't think she's
like
the main character of the Rey movie. That I think that she's going to be training someone else. I could be wrong though.
yeah, it'll be the reincarnation of Kylo Ren, whose name will be some kind of anagram like Oob.
Sven Solo, bro. Sven Solo Skywalker. Yeah, but the reincarnation of Kylo Ren. So is she going to sleep with him?
It's gonna be really weird, but it's 2023 or whatever.
Yeah. Anyways, y'all, check out Laughing Stock Cinema and Media. It's 2 channels, and you should have a Star Wars Ahsoka season wrap-up video there. Should be up now. If not, if I upload this a little bit early, it'll be up probably by the end of Thursday. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, depends
The
on
end of
if
Wednesday.
I
End of Wednesday.
depends on how long YouTube takes to actually render the video out. I might just upload it in SD at this point.
Yeah, for those who don't know, YouTube, when you upload a video, it doesn't just automatically get is ready. It takes a little bit of time to register, especially if it's a big file. And Mike uploads videos in 4K, which, okay, do you.
I want you to see me in my glorious 4K room.
Maybe you should upload this one in 720 and see if it still takes that long.
If it does, then we gotta talk, YouTube.
Yeah. Anyways, y'all, see you soon. I'll have my Ahsoka wrap up probably this weekend. Take care. I'll see y'all tomorrow. I think tomorrow we're doing the low-key episode 1. I didn't get an early screener like these sellouts and shills did. But I wish I did, but I didn't because I don't kiss ass. But yeah, that's coming. Low-key episode 1, season 2, episode 1. So see you then. Bye.